injury, and I'm pleased I shed a few tears, and I'm pleased I kicked that coffee pot across the room, and I'm pleased I feel like I do now, because I know the old feeling's still there. And when that goes, then if that feeling goes, I'll pack it in.
The all-new OTB Sports app. It's all videos, sports news, live scores, interviews, podcasts, all waiting for you. Search OTB Sports on your app store and download now.
The Cheltenham Show on OTB Sports. Don't feel like a punter. Feel like a favourite this Cheltenham with Paddy Power.
Well, hi there, I'm Thom Malone and welcome along to the Cheltenham Show on Off the Ball. It's day one of the Cheltenham Festival and really looking forward to, of course, all our action here, sponsored by Paddy Power. So really looking forward to that. Feel like a favourite at the Cheltenham Festival. And this morning, well, I'm joined by John Duggan and, of course, Johnny Ward as well. So how are you guys getting on? John, you still got your lucky hat. How's it going for you?
Great, Tom. Yeah, great day yesterday. 11 winners at halfway for Ireland, and I think 3 great stories yesterday. We've got Henry de Bromhead, another big winner, put the kettle on. Great resilience from Aidan Coleman from Cork in the straight there, and the Queen Mother. Tiger Roll, one of your favourites, Tom, 5 times now in the Cheltenham Festival winner in the cross country again. And that lovely story, heaven help us, 3 horses in Paul Hennessy's yard in Kilkenny, and a 33-1 winner for Richie Condon. The look is probably at face washing level at halfway, but we're only halfway there, and the long race is to go, 14 races. Yeah, absolutely, John. Just let's take a quick look at the papers, and you can see there that Tiger Roll is dominant. That's on the English Times as well. So Tiger Roll on the front page of that. As you mentioned, put the kettle on, and Tiger Roll once again on the front page of the Sun as well. We've got the back page of the Herald, and again it's Keith Donoghue and Tiger Roll bouncing back, and then of course the front page of the section today in the Herald. Well, special Envoy Alain, a very special horse indeed. But Johnny Ward, what about Tiger Roll yesterday? That was a bit of magic, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a performance, Tom, and I guess it suggests that he should be running at Aintree. I think it was a silly decision to take him out of Aintree, reportedly on the grounds of weight, because the performance he produced yesterday, 7 years after he won the Trifecta Hurdle, it was exceptional, really. He was basically the winner a long way out, and it was very interesting, I suppose, looking at a horse that was the young upstart last year who, took Tiger out of his comfort zone in Easy's Land. And you could tell from maybe a mile and a half out yesterday that Tiger Roll he was intent on revenge. And Easy's Land, try as he might, he couldn't get anywhere near him. And I was amazed at how far clear he was in the straight. And, Keith Donoghue, very emotional afterwards, said he wouldn't be, riding horses anymore, but for Tiger Roll. It was a fantastic spectacle. And, it's great for racing, as you say, that we had Rachel Blackmore and Honeysuckle on, making front page news on Wednesday. And racing has, I think it's gained back a lot of very good publicity this week. And we still have 2 days left as well. I suppose the performance as well, Johnny, the thing for me that I took from there were so few moments doubt for Tiger Roll. I mean, we look at the way the horse has run over the last sort of 2 years since that 2019 Grand National. He's looked really dead and lifeless at times and just not himself. But I mean, you could see from the very early stages of that race the concerns that were going to be was whether he'd run out of petrol, because he was so keen early on, wasn't he? He was keen, yeah. He was. He wasn't like an 11-year-old, to have a horse coming back 7 years after winning the Trifecta Hurdle. If you cast your mind back to when he was a senior hurdler, I thought after Cheltenham, after he won the Triumph, that he was essentially gone at the game. I didn't really know where he was going, and I think he won his first chase in June of 2016, and the road that he's gone on since, and I thought it was unfair, really, watching ITV yesterday. There was no mention of Gordon Elliott. Gordon Elliott has had a massive role in this horse's revival. He's not training the horse anymore, but, he obviously kept him very sweet to come back and produce that performance. And, when there was so much publicity in the recent weeks about Gordon Elliott, the care that he's given to Tiger Roll was certainly evinced in the performance that the horse produced in the cross-country race, because no horse, anything other than happy, could produce performance like that. As you said, if there were any issue with the performance, it was actually that he was too keen, too fresh in himself. This is an 11-year-old having his 41st start. He's had so many victories at Cheltenham. Obviously could have been on the cusp of 3 Grand National victories. It was a sensational performance, but I think I wasn't alone in thinking of somebody who used to train him yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's a slightly delicate balance, John, for the broadcasters in this situation. I think, particularly given the sort of situation in the UK, that they have quite a strong lobby, and ITV certainly in particular seem to be very wary of even mentioning Gordon Elliott's name.
Yes, I think it was all about the happy, clappy stuff, wasn't it? Yesterday it was Patrick's Day. It was the Irish having a great day, but I felt that was a bit jarring, really, because we have a great day every single day at Cheltenham at the moment. There is no contest in the Presbyterian Cup or whatever they're calling it, 11-3 at the moment. And that's been the case for the last 4 or 5 years now. And it really didn't reflect reality. On the Gordon Elliott thing, there's good and bad in life. People make mistakes. People do things that they shouldn't. And as I said at the time, he deserved a punishment. He deserved his ban. He's serving his ban at the moment, but he also deserves a second chance. So it is a bit... you just can't airbrush everything he's done with the horse out of history. 2 Grand Nationals, 5 times a winner at Cheltenham, 3 cross countries, a triumph and a 4-mile race. That all happened. So therefore, that is a good thing, and that should be acknowledged just as much as what he did, which was wrong, was also acknowledged and dealt with. So therefore, I can understand the lobby, but you just have you're not practicing journalism if you don't mention these things. Yeah, and that's what. Yeah. That's what they didn't do yesterday.
Yeah, go on, Johnny.
I think you speak very well about it there, JD. You know, I wrote about this yesterday after racing. You mentioned that the balancing act role that ITV have and British Racing, you know, it was very, very concerned about the optics of the Gordon Elliott thing. British Racing should wake up this morning and be somewhat concerned by the optics of being absolutely battered on their home turf by the Irish. This is the problem with British Racing, not the optics of 2 weeks ago. Because if you have a festival where for years and years, time immemorial, essentially, Britain dominated, or certainly had, you know, the bulk of the winners, you have a situation two days in where they're 11-3 down, 11-3 on their home turf. Bear in mind, some of the Irish connections didn't even go over this year because of the pandemic and, you know, the fact that there isn't a crowd. There is a crisis in British racing by the evidence of what we've seen so far, because today looks like it'll just be a continuation, and there should be some serious soul searching about where the sport is going if they can only muster up 3 wins in 14 races. I mean, that is crisis territory for British racing.
And I suppose, Johnny, where the wins are coming from as well. Like, I mean, if they can't be competitive in the novice events this year, so obviously they have Shishkin, but aside from that, Irish horses are dominating, and if you're not going to dominate or even compete at novice level, how can you possibly compete then in open level next year? So it's not just, I guess, a problem for this year. It's going to be something that could keep going on.
Absolutely. Like, you look at Shishkin and, you know, he has the potential to be an exceptionally good horse, you know, possibly a champion chase winner for years to come or whatever. But apart from that, it's pretty slim pickings. And you look at the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, Tom, Ireland could have the first 5 in that. You know, there have been novice races this week that have been entirely dominated by the Irish. And as much as, you know, Gordon Elliott is feeling, you know, the loss of the Cheveley Park horses, you got to reflect on the fact that Cheveley Park, essentially, they have these good horses in Ireland. And, you know, I was talking earlier on the week about the Stratford is kind of the, you know, the meeting that builds up to Cheltenham. And they had a 0 to 130 race, which is a good standard of hurdle in which the winner would get $5,000. That's not good, because like prize money is in a very, very bad state in Britain. But as well as that, if you have a horse, like you'll quite quickly spend $2,000 a month on training fees. So if you're winning good races and you barely have enough to cover 2 months training fees, what's the incentive for an owner? And to have, you know, British owners, we used to have situations where all the good Irish point-to-pointers were quickly flogged to Britain and they would go on and win races there. Now Britain is basically the poor relation, and the prize money is better in Ireland. The racing is far better in Ireland, and you have a situation where Henry de Bromhead had more winners and Rachel Blackmore had more winners at one stage yesterday than the entire British nation combined.
Yeah, just one thing I suppose to reflect on Henry de Bromhead, because he actually stands kind of on the precipice of history here. He's got a really decent chance in Appletar tomorrow. Put the Decathlon yesterday, won the Queen Mother Champion Chase. He's pretty much the only Irish trainer to register a win in that in the last while. He's now got 3 Champion Chase wins, and obviously he's taken a Champion Hurdle as well. So, I mean, we really are seeing a third superpower emerge essentially in the Irish training ranks, aren't we, John?
We are, yeah. Just to finish on what Johnny's saying there, I'm worried now that, you know, what the Americans in the Ryder Cup, when they started getting hammered, they lost interest in it. And it needed some good displays for the interest to be revived, because Europe were going over there to America and hammering the USA 18.5 to 9.5 or whatever. I'm worried that the ITV contract goes to 2023. I'm worried after that racing could disappear from terrestrial television in the UK, which would be the death knell for the sport in the UK. I'm hoping that's not the case, but British racing needs to be competitive. Like if you had 14 races at Punchestown for the first 2 days, and you had 11 British trained winners, we'd be asking major questions of ourselves here. We'd be embarrassed about it. And that's what's happening at the moment. It effectively is Punchestown relocated. That's what's happening at the moment at Cheltenham. And I could never in my wildest dreams imagine that the first time I went 20 years ago, that would be the case. But it is and has been for the last few years. Tom Costello and Clare sent out 5 or 6 Gold Cup winners. Best Mate, he sold that on. The Tinker, Cool Grant, Cool Dawn, all these horses that came from Ireland. That doesn't happen anymore. And unless British owners and unless the establishment in Britain gets behind their sport, especially when it comes to National Hunt, the flat is less affected. But especially when it comes to National Hunt, they've got a real problem on their hands. In terms of Henry de Bromhead, like everything is just going for him. And he was on the show last night. And what I really admire about Henry is he's taken his time and he's taken the hard days, like size in Europe, being pulled up on a champion hurdle 13 years ago, to go 6 years without a festival winner, to then get the horses and then turn them up and get them jumping well, like I Put the Kettle On. And Honeysuckle obviously was at her best ever on Tuesday. And yeah, it wouldn't rule out the fact that a Plutarch could do it. And look, sometimes when that's the case, and Paul Nicholls has been in that position before with champion chasers and Gold Cup winners, you just have to strike while the iron's hot. And maybe Rachel and Henry might just do that tomorrow now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Johnny, just on Henry Bromhead, that's just been such a wonderful move for him, and he's just done incredibly well. I suppose on the British thing, we'll talk to Gina Bryce from Sky Sports Racing shortly, so she might be able to defend the crown somewhat on that front. But I mean, with Henry de Bromhead and what he's achieved in the last couple of years in particular, look, obviously the MVLN situation is just kind of bonus for him, but even without that, he's developed an incredible team, hasn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, he's become a sensational trainer really in recent years, and I'd kind of, I suppose, describe him a bit like the Gerlines maybe of jumps racing, where if you back one of his horses, you're really surprised if that horse doesn't perform. You know, his horses are very, very happy the way, you know, they jump, they travel in their races, they're very, very fit. It's an uncomplicated operation, and he's rightly now, as much as Jigginstown's kind of exiting its way maybe out of the game, he's rightly gotten these, you know, big owners. He obviously has Cheveley Park now as well, by hook or by crook, I guess, and Rob Core and, you know, the Maloney's, all these big owners, and he's an exceptionally talented trainer. He's worked very, very hard. He educated himself in the right places. His dad would have brought him along the right lines as well, and it's been a sensational week for Henry de Bromhead. You know, the Put the Kettle On story is quite remarkable because, you know, he has a mare here who was decent over hurdles, but she wouldn't have been out of place running in that 0 to 130 that I was talking about at Stratford, and nobody would have batted an eyelid. But here she is now, just winning regularly at Cheltenham, and her attitude, and as much as she's probably not as good as her stablemate Honeysuckle, she's definitely the upstart in that stable. Sensational stuff from HDB.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I suppose on that race, in that champion chase as well, it was incredibly dramatic. And I suppose a lot of people you called it as well, Johnny, to be fair, the doubts about Chacun Pour Soi getting up the hill. He was nearly half a length up, less than half a furlong from home, and he finishes third. Yeah,
it was a really eventful race. You know, I backed So Royale 4 places. I thought he'd run well, and he was, you know, almost wiped out basically at a crucial stage in the race, and then stayed on strongly. And I'm wondering, would he even have won the race if he got a clear run? And it was a race in which the British didn't really get much luck. You know, you get the favourite beat, but you still can't win the race. I thought she was up against it. You know, Chacun Pour Soi absolutely demolished her at Leopardstown, but she loves Cheltenham, she loves the hill, and as much as I expressed reservations about Chacun Pour Soi getting up the hill, to be honest, I was still a bit surprised how little he found. You know, the race kind of didn't go too badly for him, and it'll be an interesting conundrum going forward, because if you have a 2-mile chaser who doesn't get up the hill at Cheltenham, you know, you're a little bit screwed in terms of options.
Do you think maybe he should have been a little further forward earlier on the race, perhaps? Maybe make a little more use of his jumping? Yeah,
that's the problem. I was kind of saying this in the lead up to the race. He's an unbelievably good jumper, but they were probably a little bit, you know, doubtful about his stamina. So that you're a little bit between a rock and a hard place there. It's a bit like Archibald. You know, Archibald would do everything on the bridle, wouldn't necessarily get up the hill that strongly, but you don't want to disappoint the horse, because Archibald was a really, really good jumper up a hurdle. He was exceptionally quick from A to B, which is what Chacun Pour Soi is. I was a little bit surprised he wasn't ridden more forward. And wherever he goes henceforth will be interesting, because I think they will have a point to prove. And I think when he does win his next Grade 1, Willie Mullins, who was in effervescent form yesterday, saying that he'd never been as nervous in a race as when Monkfish won. I think he will feel a great sense of satisfaction when the horse does get back to Grade 1 winning form, but they have a little bit of a quandary, and I think he's kind of opened up the invites to his rivals there to say, I do have stamina deficiencies if you can't put me under pressure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We're going to move on. Unfortunately, a Shackingpur spot was part of my trifecta yesterday, so that didn't all go to plan. But look, we're happy to see Tiger Roll applied. Right, on to today's 3 for you. It's been going okay so far this week here at Cheltenham for my trifecta. Anyway, we'll start off with the good thing of the day. That's going to be Envoi Allen. I'm not exactly making anything too outrageous in that. In the opening race of the day at 1:20, that's the Marsh Novices Chase. I'm with Envoi Allen there. One of my best bets of the week runs in the Stayers Hurdle. That's the feature race of the afternoon at 3:05. I'm with Paisley Park to regain his crown. And then in the Ryanair Chase, which is the third race of the afternoon, going to post at 2:30. I think Mellon's going to break his Cheltenham
It's got to be Mellon or Sam Crow, hasn't it, Tom?
Mellon and Sam Crow. I love the idea of Sam Crow winning. I'm putting Mellon in, but I mean, if Sam Crow win, I would certainly have absolutely no objections to that. But yeah, I think the pair of them. Just think with Mellon, that you can't get that run out of my head at Christmas with a bit of better ground and a more positive ride, and that's what's sticking in my head, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's I've kind of given out a bit about the dilution of races at Cheltenham, but to be fair, we do have a brilliant Go Cup, and I think the Ryanair is a cracking race as well. Allaho, the performances that he's produced this season, tongue time for the first time is interesting, but I remember Sam Crow winning last year, and I guess it was a strange time for Cheltenham. It was the start of the Thursday, and it was a little bit of an eerie atmosphere, and it'll be the same today if he wins, but he is unbeaten at Cheltenham, Tom, and if Mellon isn't, he's certainly not unbeaten at Cheltenham. He never runs a really good race, and it's another race in which the Irish probably will dominate, or certainly I think we've a great chance of a winner, but I think that's going to be a cracking spectacle. And Paul Townend has had a kind of a slightly up and down week. I think he definitely want to ride the bumper back if he had the chance, so it'll be interesting to see what tactics he employs here, because this is going to be a fascinating race, and a lot of pressure on these horses because of the quality of the rivals in it. Yeah,
it's absolutely fascinating. Right, up next we're going to head over to the course where broadcaster Gina Bryce is there. Meanwhile, Henry de Bromhead, as I mentioned, has had 3 winners on the track this week, and he joined Joe Malloy on the show last night, and he spoke about Put the Kettle On's win.
Put the Kettle On really stole the show. Winner at 17-2, first mare to win the Queen Mother. How confident were you in advance, Henry? What were your thoughts on this race?
Probably you would never find me confident. Very hopeful. She's obviously, she loves Cheltenham. She comes alive here. And Aidan Coleman gets a great tune out of her. He's won on her the 4 times that she's run. She's got 100% strike rate. We were probably leaning towards the mare. Or no, we probably had the Mare's Chase in the mix back in February. But it's on the new course on Friday, and it's a half a mile further, whereas all her form is on the old course over the course and distance of the Champion Chase. So although it probably looked a far stronger race, we said we'd let her take her chance. And it's whatever it is about her in Cheltenham, she just loves it. So wasn't confident, but hoping for a good run. And also the record, she won the Arkle last year. The record of Arkle winners in the Champion Chase, stats-wise, is just ridiculous. Yeah, so had plenty going for her for a good run, but Aidan was amazing on her. He threw her over the last 3 fences, and she was as game as a pebble with him, heart of a lion up the hill, and yeah, it's just amazing stuff you'd dream of, and delighted for the syndicate, the Darmodys, who live near us. Yeah, it's an incredible story. Mary is the matriarch of the syndicate, and just delighted for them.
Yeah, Henry de Bromhead there. Johnny, Gina's is having 1 or 2 issues connected with it, so just time to reflect again on Henry de Bromhead and that incredible win he had, those wins he has had, rather. It's been a pretty phenomenal just performance by him as a trainer, particularly in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's funny the way things happen in life. His link up with Rachel Blackmore was kind of, I think it was born out of a conversation with Eddie O'Leary in the back of a taxi going to an airport, I think ahead of Aintree or something like that. And I think it's interesting in terms of the prowess of women in racing. The O'Learys would be deemed pretty ruthless. We've seen that with the trainers that they've discarded from time to time. And but Eddie and Michael O'Leary have been extremely much. I think they've been exponents of female jockeys. From Nina Carberry to Jane Mangan and
Lisa O'Neill is regularly used on their bumper horses.
Absolutely, they call Lisa the postman because she always delivers. She's been an exceptionally good rider, and she was a late developer as well, as was Rachel, really. And Eddie O'Leary put a lot of faith in Rachel, and then you have a situation where you see the bumper winner who's switched stables because of the whole Elliott fallout, and Rachel Blackmore comes in for the ride and essentially outrode Paul Townend in the bumper. There's no two ways about it. The best horse is probably second, or certainly the best ride is on the winner, and she's been absolutely exceptional, and without knowing it, she's an unbelievable ambassador for a sport that probably needs ambassadors right now.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, and the riding Bob Ollinger too, when she just squeezed up Braveman's Gain to make sure Guy de Merny had no run on the inside. I mean, look, obviously Bob Ollinger was probably going to win anyway, but geez, she made sure that the result would be in no doubt.
Yeah, it's exceptional. I mean, Rachel Blackmore must wake up some mornings and pinch herself, and she's gone into the weighing room in Cheltenham basically as one of the top dogs, and she's developed, into just an exceptionally good rider. Tactically, she very, very rarely gets it wrong. I mean, enough jockeys, are the subject of WhatsApp conversations or the subject of social media criticism. He or she should have done that. Didn't go early enough, went too soon, blah, blah, blah. Maybe she's, tied herself to a yard in which the horse are very uncomplicated, but she's just an exceptionally good rider, as you say, on Bob Ollinger. Very promising horse, but she did things right. And her rides on Honeysuckle the last twice, I think she's been exceptionally confident on that horse, not afraid to make a move that you got to remember, if Rachel Blackmore makes a move too early in a champion hurdle, a mile out, and takes up the running or whatever she does, and she's beaten a short head, and she's going to get a lot of criticism on social media, and she's had no fear whatsoever. She's basically, been very confident in the horses that she's riding, and what's to say she won't even have another couple of winners over the next 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, topping the jockey standings currently at the Cheltenham Festival, and now live from the Cheltenham Festival we do have Gina Bryce. The technical gremlins have been ironed out. So Gina, how are you keeping?
I'm very well. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, just trying to hold the camera in place and get the sound working. But hopefully you can hear me okay. Surprisingly enough, considering we've got an entirely empty grandstand, it's actually quite noisy here. We've got tannoy, and they're just been trying to create a little bit of atmosphere throughout the meeting. But it's been a brilliant 2 days. Just feeling so lucky to have been here, to be honest.
Gina, you have been anointed the unofficial ambassador for British racing. So can you explain the scenario that leaves itself in at the moment?
Yeah, it's a very sorry state of affairs, isn't it? I'm backtracking very quickly on any of my selections. Gosh, it's just been an incredible meeting for the Irish. I think 11-3 is the current standings. I mean, quotes from Paul Nicholls said it all this morning. He said, Brave Man's Game ran an absolute cracker yesterday in the Blackmore, but he just wasn't good enough against two absolute freaks, notably Bob Ollinger, who... being here, I don't know if you got to see the shots on the TV. Not only was he just imperious in the race, she struggled to pull him up at the top of the hill. I've never seen a horse come through the line and then have to take a turn before she could get a handle of him at the top of 2.5 miles here at Cheltenham. I mean, just incredible. The novice division, obviously so strong, but even in the handicaps, it's been very, very slim pickings for the UK. And although we've got the main contender in the Stayers today, I'm not overly confident we're going to claw it back with too much conviction over the next 2 days.
It's something we just touched on a little earlier on, and obviously, you're very familiar with the bloodstock world, but if Britain are so uncompetitive in novice races this year, then how on earth can they be competitive in the future years as well?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously raises questions. I don't think anyone will be too overly concerned. Obviously, the Irish have had a very good record in this meeting for years. And at the moment, the firepower of those big yards in Ireland and the owners purchasing the expensive horses and putting them in Ireland just seems to have skewed it that way at the moment. Look, things comes in peaks and troughs and roundabouts, and I wouldn't be overly concerned that it won't all change and Nicky Henderson might be back on top of Paul Nicholls next year. I don't think we need to be too overly concerned. It's good that we've got the rise of another superpower in Ireland, Henry de Bromhead, who's had a fantastic meeting. He might go on this week, believe it or not, to achieve a feat never achieved in winning all 3 championship events. He's won the Champion Hurdle and the Champion Chase, and he's got a Futard in Friday's race. So I don't think so. I mean, the brave man's game, look, he might improve past these for a fence. He's been spoken about in the same breath as Denman, so he will no doubt go novice chasing next year, and things change, and hopefully the playing field will level at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we'll look through today's racing. Anything really standing out for you? Obviously, we've got Mpoalen in the first. Can you see him beaten?
I can't. I'm a big fan of Chantry House. I think he's a very good horse, and I think we saw him getting back on top to his best, jumping better and showing what he could be capable of last time. But look, you can't go against a horse like Mpoalen. You're really kind of splitting hairs if you are, because he came here, he won his champion bumper, he had an unbeaten novice hurdle campaign, he won the Blackmore, he's come here unbeaten as a chaser, and, you know, to all intents and purposes, I think he'll win the Marsh today. He never does anything too exuberant, too flashy, and I think that's where maybe some of his critics give a bit of weight to the argument against him, because, you know, last time, arguably winning by a couple of lengths, you know, he should be beating those other horses further, but I think that's just his style. To me, he's rock solid, he seems to take it all in his stride. And it's that temperament that'll stand him in good stead today, because as we know, he's changed stables and joined Henry de Bromhead in the last 2 weeks, moving from Ward and Elliott. So he's going to have a good temperament to deal with that. It's a boring one, but I just think he's rock solid today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you're there, and I think one of the issues with Mpoalen, I think it was kind of publicised beforehand, but his groom, Sean Mann, will actually not be there. I think there's an issue with COVID regulations, but obviously you're on track. You're all in your bubbles and the like at the moment. Maybe just talk us through how strict the COVID regulations are, because we just watch on ITV and you see the likes of Ruby Walsh, and he used to sit up in a box on his own. So it's obviously incredibly strict over there.
Yeah, it is really strict, and rightly so. You know, they've jumped through every hoop and followed all the regulations they've needed to get this meeting, the show on the road. It's amazing how few people are here as well. It really does feel very privileged to be here broadcasting, because the press room is near enough empty. There's the bare minimum of people here. Everyone's having to wear masks in the indoor areas. I've just popped outside onto the grandstand where we broadcast from, hence why I've been able to take mine off. The paddock is deserted. Where they've got the stable staff, there's different bubbles for the British and Irish, different weighing rooms. I mean, they've done everything they can to ensure the safety of the participants here. And it's brilliant, because if you did get a positive, everyone is socially distanced and kept in separate areas enough that it wouldn't just wipe out the entire meeting, if you like. So they've done really well. And actually a really nice moment just a few minutes ago, all the Irish stable staff who are staying in these kind of purpose-built pods in a big marquee over by the stable yard, they came out and gave a big round of applause just to show their appreciation and their thanks, not only to the racecourse and everything they've done, but Jennifer Walsh does a lot of the logistics here. So that was a really nice moment. It
sounds like a really, really nice touch. Again, just that that bubble you talk about as well. It's really strange, isn't it? Like they've made essentially a little village and loads of kind of like little bunk bed pods, essentially, like little porta cabins, and they've set up their own kind of miniature village, and all the Irish stable staff are there, kept completely isolated. Isn't that the way it's working?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. There's a couple of videos circulating on Twitter of how they've done it. As you say, it's like a big marquee, and then within that marquee, there are these separate pods with 2 little beds and a bathroom and everything, little goodie bags in them. So, you know, they've done a really good job, and everyone has been kept very separate. They've used a lot of staff for the Irish horses coming over that are already based here in the UK, so everyone has to be tested on arrival at the site. We've had lateral flow tests that we have to do throughout the week to ensure that we get that negative before coming into the race course. So, yeah, they've really done everything, and as you can see in the sport we've been able to enjoy for the last 2 days, I think everyone is hugely appreciative that they have been able to do that.
And kind of on the course, obviously, you know, it was brought up quite a bit on the TV coverage, you know, that looking back at the controversy of last year, and obviously Johnny and John were there last year and they got plenty of blowback and the likes of social media and that. But Gina, I mean, how conscious are Cheltenham and the press over there of that potential bad press relating to those kind of COVID issues from last year and the meeting going ahead?
No, everyone, I think, was apprehensive coming into the meeting. Cheltenham Racing didn't do anything wrong. They were following government guidelines. It was very much a day-by-day kind of basis that every day I was working here last year, and it felt like every day it was going to get called off, and it didn't. But all they could do was follow the government guidelines at the time. The benefit of hindsight is such that maybe looking back on it, people would have made different decisions. But I think the self-flagellation has probably gone on long enough now. We've got to celebrate the fact that, look, we've been able to get racing back on since June last year, do it under safe circumstances, enjoy the sport. It's a welcome tonic for people sat at home. Look, we've all had a miserable 12 months, no getting away from it. And so the fact that we've been able to get top level sport on is just a real, should be celebrated, really. There are negative news stories, as we know, coming into this year's festival. But I think the fact that we've seen such incredible stories, Rachel Blackmore coming to the fore, performances the likes of Shishkin, Honeysuckle, Appreciated, my Wallinger yesterday, and put the kettle on. It's just really buoyed the spirits, and I think, if anything, that's just managed to shine the light. Hang on a minute, let's just remember Tiger Roll. We need to put him in there, because that was really the people's favourite yesterday, and that's just, I think, hopefully shone a bit more light on what is a brilliant industry and a brilliant sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what tonic people are looking for, Gina? Winners. Go on.
Winners, I know. You've not come to the right place.
Have we not? No. Okay. Is there anything you do fancy over the rest of the card for the afternoon?
Let's have a look. What have I tipped
Stayers Hurdle, Ryanair.
Yes.
You're going to give us a 1, 2, 3 in the Pretemps?
Gosh, I went for Shantou Flyer in the Pretemps, actually. He's a horse that's run so many times at the festival, and Imperial Alcazar was my tip in the Pretemps. Shantou Flyer a little bit later, but Imperial Alcazar, I think, is a group horse, in waiting, in the handicap, and we could give Fergal O'Brien his long overdue winner today, I think, his first festival winner. Wide open Ryanair, isn't it? I actually like St Calvados, who's now a non-runner, so I have gone for Allaho to continue the excellent form of Rachel Blackmore and the Cheveley Park stud team. I just think that horse finished third on 2 occasions here at the festival. Got that festival form coming to the fore, which we've seen this week, and you could see anything figuring in the Ryanair, such as the kind of wide open nature of it, but that was the one I plugged for there. And the Stayers, it's probably heart overhead, really, but I've had to stick with Paisley Park. It was just so encouraging to see that horse come back this season, and that real brilliance he showed at Ascot last time, that turn of foot he unleashed to wear down Time Hill. I think that maybe the old Paisley Park, the fire still burns in him. I know he had a heart problem, which saw him run badly in this last year, but I think he's back from that, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he can win the Stayers today. I
have some terrible news for you, Gina. I tipped up Paisley Park as well, and I tipped up Brave Man's Game like you did too, so I don't know.
I'll take you down all day long, the old ball and chain here. So fingers crossed for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Gina, we'll let you go there. You're fighting against the tannoid there, but you've done admirably well in difficult conditions, just like the rest of the British runners at Cheltenham.
Yeah, we'll keep trying. Hopefully we can claw some back over the next few days. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, thanks a million, Gina. John, I'm going to throw to you because, as always, you've given us a few selections over the course of the week. So let's just get your tips for the day, John, and we'll look through what you fancy. So even if you want to go from the top.
Mine's Tom Think I like, and you've gone for Mellon. And so have I. Mellon's my nap in the Ryanair Chase today. He's 13-2 now, and possibly better at some places as well. But 13-2 with Paddy Power for a charity bet with Mellon. I feel that one of the best races I saw all year was the one at Christmas, the Novice Chase. Mellon was out in front, and it was really just between Mellon and Kenboy and Plutarch who came with the late run. But the rest of them were pretty well beaten. I think positive tactics from Brian Cooper on Mellon will be good today. I think the ground will suit him, and he's nothing to prove at Cheltenham. The only thing he hasn't done is won. He's been second in the Champion Hurdle twice, second as Supreme, second last year behind Sam Crow, and was also going well up the hill. So the hill wasn't the issue last year. I think Mellon is a cracking each way bet at about 13-2. He's my nap in the Stayers Hurdle, not the Stayers Hurdle, in the Ryanair. And
elsewhere on the card?
So what else have I gone for? So Fury Road is my next best.
In the Stayers Hurdle?
In the Stayers Hurdle. And there's a lot of money for Fury Road. He's been backed off the boards. He was 7-1 last night. He's into 4-1 in places at the moment now. I've tipped him up at 5-1. Once again, like last year, and Monkfish Frank de Form yesterday was one of the best races last year. The best one I saw was that brilliant finish to the Aberbarnett Hurdle when you had Fury Road, who was third behind Latest Exhibition. And the other horse was at the Monkfish at 1, and then Time Hill was in there. And Time Hill has been running well against Paisley Park, who's the favourite all year. I think Fury Road there's a bit of doubts about him staying from the yard, but I think on last year's evidence that showed me that he will stay. I think he's got a touch of class, and I think Fury Road is the one I'll be on in the Stayers Hurdle each way. So that's the 305, about 5-1. The opener, I haven't got an opinion because Enwa Allen is odds on, and if he does himself justice, and there's been no issue with the movement between Gordon Elliott's yard and Henry de Bromhead's yard, I think he should win. There's a bit of money for Asterion Forlange, the Willie Mullins horse, at 22-1. But I'm leaving the first race alone. In the network, Pretemps, the handicap hurdle final at 155. I've gone for Spirit of the Games each way. Could be. I've taken SP. Could be 20-1 by the off. This horse, I think, has always been crying out for 3 miles. He's a very consistent record at the Cheltenham Festival, been placed in chases before. Spirit of the Games could reach the top 6, which they're paying on Paddy Power each way. Spirit of the Games is an each way playing the 3 mile hurdle there. The plate, the 340 Caribbean Boy, Nicky Henderson. Once again, I'm taking SP on this because there's huge deluge of money coming on the shunter. Fred McMullen's looking for a bonus, the shunter, with Jordan Gainford taking £7 off on the favourite. So the money's all come from the shunter. I like, though, Caribbean Boy. I think he's the class horse in the race, and he beat Fiddler on the Roof earlier this season quite comfortably. Fiddler on the Roof second yesterday to Monkfish. I think he's a really good jumper, and you need good jumpers in these races. Caribbean Boy for Nicky Henderson each way in the 340. The mare's race at 4:15, I've gone for Hook Up. Willie Mullins has won every single running of this race. Danny Mullins last time out at Leopardstown, and she was finishing well behind Appreciated, Bally Adam and Blue Lords. They've all franked the form this week. Well, Bally Adam didn't really because he made that mistake, but Appreciated won and Blue Lord was going to be second. That's grade 1 novice form. This is against her own sex, Hook Up. Look, she does need to improve. She probably needs to improve her jumping, but I took her at about I took her 6.5-1 earlier on in the 4:15. Hook Up each way for Willie Mullins to finish in the first 4. And then in the 4:50, the Kim York Chase, I've gone for my outsider of the day, 33-1 shot, Cloudy Glen. Trevor Hemmings has won this race before as an owner. Venetia Williams' horses are in great form. You tipped up Sapage the other day, Tom. She did another good runner in the Grand Annual yesterday. And Cloudy Glen, who won the Southern National at Fontwell, is going back left-handed. He's a quirky character. He's a bit mad. But if he is behaving himself today, I think Cloudy Glen at 33-1 could reach the frame to get into the places, or even better than that, to win and make us have a good week. But Mellon is the nap, Fury Road the next best.
Yeah, good stuff, John. Looking forward to those. You're watching the Cheltenham Show on OTB Sports with Paddy Power. Don't feel like a punter, feel like a favourite this Cheltenham. Right, we're going to look back at something from last night. We'll have Paddy Power in a few moments' time, but first, more from last night's chat with Henry de Bromhead, where he tries to make sense of what has been a dream week.
You must be pinching yourself a little bit. I don't know if you're a reflective sort too often, but I think that's the 12th Cheltenham Festival win for you today. I was listening to an interview you gave a while back, and you were remarking upon one year where you had just 3 winners, I think, across one year. So you know how there are no guarantees in sport. So this must be a time in your life where you're thinking, my goodness, this is all going very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's I've just literally got back to the hotel now, so can reflect on it all a bit more this evening. Yeah, I keep saying this, but it's true again. It's just stuff you dream about. You know, when I first started training, sort of having a winner at Cheltenham would be, seemed like a pipe dream, and now we're competing in these top races, so feel very fortunate. But like I say, it's not without the support of everyone at home, the hard work, and also the support of all our owners, our clients. They give us the opportunity to train these lovely horses.
How have you changed over the years, Henry, in your approach? Is there things you're doing now that you weren't doing at the start? Have you learned some hard lessons?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every day, still do, always tinkering a little bit, but every day, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You'd always, would be so different to how I first started. Probably the main thing is leaving no stone unturned, and I probably drive everyone mad that it's working with us. But you know what? I suppose it's those little things, isn't it, that can make the difference.
Yeah, Henry de Bromhead there, who's been piling plenty of misery on our next guest, Paddy Power. Paddy, how are you? Enjoying the Henry de Bromhead benefit it's been for the last couple of days?
Oh yeah, it's great. I'm delighted for Henry. Poor old Willie Mullins is getting bullied by Henry, but Yeah, I think it's been a fab week. Really weird, obviously without the crowds we talked about loads. But what I loved yesterday, my favourite things the whole week was when the Hennessy horse won, and just the jockeys coming out and giving the guard of honour in, and seeing all the Irish kind of stable staff up on the stand of the best mate roaring home the Irish horses. So it's there seems to be a bit of a sense of team over there, you know, and I think that's important, and we get little bit of atmosphere generated. But I think the racing's been top notch. It's been like you know, you can write it. So Johnny Ward wrote today about how English racing's in a bit of trouble because the dominance of the Irish. But like, yeah, I mean, you take it because there's plenty of years when we struggled.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we can even send a greyhound trainer over there and still get a Cheltenham winner now, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, we had Paul on last week on the racing show on the Friday Night Racing, and you know, I was kind of giving out to Barbara White. I was like, you know, we need these high profile trainers, and she's like, well, he actually has a good chance of winning at Cheltenham. I was like, maybe he does, yeah. And I was thinking, you know, you can't go from winning at the Dublin Racing Festival with a long shot to then somehow having a realistic chance at Cheltenham. Of course, Paul came on. I knew he would be brilliant because he's just a great talker. He's from a part of the world that pound for pound must be producing, you know, better racing men and women than pretty much anywhere. You know, in the Kilkenny kind of Carlow region there, we have all these greats of the game, and you know, I just love the fact that he bred the horse. There's a story behind its name. You know, had to take a bit of a chance on the mare, went to Yates because he liked Yates when Yates was with Aidan O'Brien. It wasn't uber scientific, and here was a man who, you know, knows how to win a greyhound derby and the horses. But you know, he was telling us how he had this horse running at Dundalk, and he won like a couple of flat races in the space of a week.
First Friday.
First Friday.
He's calling him every Friday.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of like having your first bet when it wins. You know, you think this is easier. You know, and he probably thought training horses is quite handy. Then he developed his own facilities, and I wonder now, is he thinking, you know, waking up this morning and reading the paper about him having an easy Cheltenham winner, is he thinking maybe I should expand my string and take on Willie Mullins like Henry de Bromhead is? But it's a great story, and you know, Richie Condon, obviously Davy's cousin, you know, an unheralded jockey in many respects, dictating from the front, a fairly soft pace. Probably didn't believe his luck coming to the last when the race was won. And yeah, I'm with Paddy. I think it was a fantastic story, and you know, a very well named horse as well, because they had all the help from above at Dublin Racing Festival, and again yesterday.
Yeah, it was absolutely magical, and leading him up himself as well. That was just very cool. Paddy, we'll start with the Paddy Power Stayers Hurdle today. Will we? Maybe we have a chance of Britain actually getting a winner here. They've got Paisley Park, obviously looking to regain the crown. What do you make of it so far? And is there any money for anything?
Geez, if you believe the money, it's going to be Sneezy Foster all the way. Fury Road has been backed off the boards. It's into 4-1 second favourite now. It's even 7-2 around the place as well. Paisley Park is 9-4. That's been around 2-1, 9-4 since Time Hill came out. Sire de Burley is 5-1, and Storyteller, Listigar Oscar last year's winner, 8 or 10-1. But I was quite fancying Fury Road, but the odds have shortened up a bit now. Paisley Park obviously could bounce back. Last year there was an excuse rather, because he had a regular heartbeat or something wrong with his heart anyway in the race, and he ran a bit disappointingly. But it's just never a horse I've really there's a big fairy tale to him with the owner and all that, but it's just a horse I've never really kind of fallen in love with, and that's been to my detriment over the years with like Auto Star and some of these horses which turned out to be okay despite me not falling in love with.
He's multiple Grade 1 winner. I just can't see what they see in him.
I know, yeah, exactly. But so I was thinking the two that I was going to have a look at was the Storyteller and Vindication, both going back from jumping fences and then going over hurdles now. But I think the money for Fury Road is significant, and I'll be keeping a big eye on Fury Road, I think.
Johnny, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I like.
You love the Stayers Hurdle.
Yeah, to be fair, it's the Time Hill's defection is very significant. I think his clash with Paisley Park, Richard Johnson for some reason wasn't all that happy with his ride the last time when they met. I think he's the up and comer. Obviously, the form of that Albert Bartlett is working out so well, so he was a disappointing defection. I backed Paisley Park in the race last year. Got my fingers burned when he was a raging hot odds-on favourite. But apart from that, it's very, very hard to knock him. I think he's been kind of taken along relatively gently this season. He's probably coming to hand. Fury Road and Sampro, a couple of horses that have sort of tipping up last week. They've just been, they've shortened so much in price now. I'm not sure they value anymore. But Fury Road is a horse that they've thought so much of from an early stage. And just listening to Dennis O'Regan last week, his work's been very good coming here, and he probably does have the ability to get involved. But if Paisley Park is sort of thereabouts coming up the hill, a neck up, a neck down. You just imagine he wins because he just finds so much for pressure. And I do think this would be a good story for the host as well, with obviously Andrew Gemmell, the owner, who's been great for racing in terms of the optics of him celebrating the victory, celebrating his victories despite being blind since he was born. You know, he's had so much fun with this horse, and I don't think anyone would begrudge the British winning this race. I think he'll take a lot of beat.
Paddy would. Paddy doesn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Paddy's a hard man to please, you know. Yeah, even if you buy him around at the bar, he's kind of, you know, he's not prone to giving you a load of praise, but you know, he's still hanging around, and he's not the worst, I guess.
He's not.
You always need to give me the Guinness. That's just a little bit stale, Johnny. That's the problem.
John, you're with Fury Road here.
Yeah, on the basis of last year's run in Aberbarda, which is the best race I saw of last year's festival, and Monkfish and Time Hill have both ranked the form this season. So I like Fury Road. The price is too skiddy now. I took him for the charity bet with Paddy Power 5-1 this morning, and he was 7s last night. He's now 4.72, as Paddy was saying. I don't like Paisley Park. I just, as a horse, I've never fallen in love with either. I'm not the biggest fan of horses that get behind the bit and have to be rousted for pressure. And of the 3 times he's turned up at the festival, this is the 3rd time. Actually, he has turned up 3 times. He was in the novice race as well. So 3 times he's been there, and twice he's flopped. So that would think that for me, he's quite a short price, I have to say. Storyteller's been running brilliant this season. Love the horse, the way he's been running. Bacardi's no. And Listener Oscar, I think, won a strange renewal of the race last year. Can't see him doing it again. So Fury Road for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see the Storyteller obviously get involved and be another good moment for Keith Donoghue, and a horse that's really served him well over the course of the year. Let's start at the start of the day then with the Marsh Novices Chase at 1:20. And Paddy, we got another bulletproof favourite here, don't we?
It would seem that way. You know, I guess the doubt that you have about it is completely illogical. It's that, well, they've all seemed to win. So surely this one of them has to get beat. You know what I mean? And this is the only one left to get beat. So maybe that's the only reason why. At the start of the week, this would have been one of the ones you'd say was the most certain to win. Now the ground drying out is maybe you can kind of clutch at straws and say that's a slight worry for you. I mean, there's good horses in there. It's not like it's a penalty kick race. It's not as easy a task, say, as Monkfish on paper had yesterday, because Chantry House feet from Shamblue has had a good gallop, and will jump out. Chatham Street Lad, I just watched it again this morning, how easily won the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. You know, got to have a squeak as well on the ground conditions that he'll love as well. But Envoy Allen has looked a world beater, and I mean, everyone said it. They say like that's the best horse in the yard, and the bumper horse yesterday. When he was with Henry Bromhead, and the bumper horse yesterday up was the second best horse he had in the yard, and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that of the horses that moved stables from Gordon Elliott, Galvin's won. Your man, who I keep forgetting his name, won the bumper yesterday.
Sir Gerhard.
Sir Gerhard won the bumper yesterday. So the one in Bally, the yoke in the Supreme, Bally Adam in the Supreme ran okay, he finished second. So they've all run well. So it's hard to say that's a worry now. I think Envoy Allen is it's a good thing.
Johnny, yesterday
it reminds me of a Cheltenham week where it's like you're actually over there and you know you've enjoyed yourself, and it's like after you're only 3 days in and you're kind of forgetting the name of horses because you've met so many people and you've just been I suppose you're in there's all this emotion, but you're bringing it home to me, Paddy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wrecked, lads. You're not wrecked, Paddy, Johnny, and Tommy. You're not a bit wrecked by now.
No, I can't believe this is the first time ever Paddy has had a voice on Thursday morning.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And like, it's just so weird. Like, I mean, I went for a run this morning.
What?
Thursday, you're joking.
Johnny, well, and he, you know, you can sing the "This Will Not Be Beaten" song here, can't you?
Yeah, I couldn't believe he was 4 to 6, to be honest, the last few days. Now he's gone into much shorter. Maybe it's partly because, you know, Paddy says these favourites are just winning. It was interesting watching Monkfish yesterday. You couldn't say I don't know, did he advertise his Gold Cup claims? He just looked like a horse that was racing very lazily. I can't wait to see these horses take each other on the Gold Cup next year if that were to happen. Because I'm still not entirely sure what Envoy Allen's best trip is, but he's absolutely awesome. I hope the HD today on TV reflects how good looking this horse is. He's, you know, if you see him in the parade ring, I'm not a judge whatsoever, but he takes your breath away. He's absolutely spectacular, and you know, David Russell speaking up at the festival, he said when he rode this horse in the Royal Bond last year, it's as nervous as he's ever been in a race, because of, I guess, how much they thought of him. And then conversely, he said when he rode him at Cheltenham last year, he never was more chilled out in the race. He just knew he just had to get up and clock in, clock out, get the job done. This horse will do that today in no uncertain terms. I think he'll bolt home. Yeah,
absolutely. And he is an absolute model of a horse as well. He's the guts of 17 hands. He's the most perfectly put together, light walking, beautiful moving, majestic animal. And hopefully he does the business.
Everything the four of us are essentially, Tom.
Absolutely, just like a hybrid of the four of us. Right, let's move on to the other grade one of the afternoon then, and this is far more competitive at 2:30. It is the Ryanair Chase. Paddy, how did they bet in this?
So we finally the dust is finally settled on the Willie Mullen trio. It seems Men has gone into favourite at 4-1. I guess maybe Paul Townend choosing that as the reason why. Allaho's 9-2. And then Mellon's 13-2, and the three of them were thereabouts in almost joint co-favourites a couple of days ago. Fakir Dudery kind of split them at 9-2 second favourite. That's been quite well backed. Fakir Dudery for Joseph O'Brien, Mark Walsh, and JP Cullers. Sam Crow is into 7-1. Interestingly, there's a couple of non-runners here that are significant. St. Calvados is out, which was a real chance, and Dashwood Blatcher and Real Steel, who probably didn't have a chance of winning, but St. Calvados coming out is relatively significant. Mellon's 13-2, like I said. Imperial Aura was favourite for this race and he posed for a long time. It's out to 17-2 now, despite the non-runners. So it's it seems like another Irish benefit, and it seems like Min is the one the punters have got for. I kind of scratching my head here, and I'm convinced that Mellon is the one to be on, even though Mellon's been second at the last 400 festivals. But I'm just convinced that today could be the day Mellon gets his head in front.
Oh goodness, well that's three of us. That's very worrying. Johnny, are we going to see this in the winners' enclosure? Sam Crow. Surely it's Sam Crow. You've not lost the faith in the horse you absolutely love.
Yeah, sorry, you have to forgive him his run last time at the Dublin Race Festival. I do think Ordinary horse were probably a bit out of form at that time. He was stepping up to 3 miles. It was a bit of a mad race, but he's unbeaten at Cheltenham. And just if you go through the SVs, this horse has been sent off in his career. You very rarely get the prices that you've been able to get on him winning the Ryanair. And the ground is probably coming right for him, the drying ground. He jumped and travelled unbelievably well in winning the JLT last year. So he does come alive at Cheltenham, and I'd love to see him win, to be honest. I think we spoke about the Gordon Elliott. I guess this kind of state censorship of mentioning him in the media this week in some quarters, that as if he doesn't exist, when clearly he's been training these horses up until very recently, and he's produced them in great shape to run so well at Cheltenham this year. And this has been the apple of his eye maybe until Envoy Alain came along, and I hope he wins. I still have a great time for the horse. I won a lot of money when he won the Ballymore. It seems like a long time ago now, but he was the talking horse that year. Maybe he hasn't quite lived up to what they thought he would be, but I still think he's good enough to be very competitive in the Ryanair.
And I suppose that's the other thing about, again, the actual training of Sam Crow. He's not a straightforward horse. You've been up there in the media days. Just explain the kind of stable he lives in, because it's not the same as others.
Yeah, it was a strange one with him, because I think they figured out when he was a senior herder that there was something not quite right in terms of his performance that wasn't living up to where he should be. So I guess it'd be like when you go to a 5-star hotel and they tell you they're upgrading your room. That's probably like Sam Crow's existence over the last few years, where they've kind of given him this area where he has his stable, but he also has an area outside of fresh air and all that. The type of places Paddy Power frequently would stay when he travels the world and so forth. Top notch. And he loves life, and I guess that's the antidote of all the bad publicity we've had. If anyone goes to Gordon Elliott's yard, the care these horses get, but the facilities as well, they're basically doted over, and you'll see a happy Sam Crow today, I think.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a happy Sam Crow and a very happy Johnny Ward, I'd imagine too, if he obliges. Paddy, is there any money anywhere else? Obviously it's got the Thursday. It's a funny old day, isn't it? Because it can be quite tricky for punters with per temps in there, and a mare's Novices as well. So where's the cash been?
Yeah, so if you look at some of the handicaps, so if we go to the temps first, which is the second race in the card, the Boss's Oscar, which has been favoured for this for forever, really, but 7-1 favourite in a really open field, and you're kind of thinking that's probably about its price. It was 6-1-11 this morning. It's into 4-1 now, so that's properly been punted. It was like they were waiting for the price to get bigger. It just didn't get bigger. They said, "Fact, will go anyway," and it's shortened right in now to clear favourite. So that's one that's going to be a bit of a plunge horse. Milliner in the same race has been quite well backed as well, but the Boss's Oscar, the significant move. in their attempts. And then if you go forward, go to after the Stayers Hurdle, you've got the shunter in the Paddy Power Plate. And this again, I mean, like, it just shows how much I don't have a clue. Like last night, it was 5-1 or thereabouts. So I was going to go, geez, there's no value in that because, like, he's had a hard race the last time and he was going for a big bonus and everything, but 5-1, you could be back in that race. He's now 5-2. So it just shows how shrewd I am. But
I'm with you on that, Paddy. I cannot get over his price.
Yeah, he seems very short to me. And like Emmett Mullins, we don't understand your man game, Jordan Game for the jockey's brilliant, but Emmett Mullins, just his strike rate going to England with horses, it's like, you were saying it yesterday, Johnny, it's like nearly 50% or something. It's unbelievable, the strike rate. So he's you got to respect that. But his race to qualify for this bonus was only a week or two ago, and he was a hot favourite, but he really had to work hard to win. So I think that might have left its mark on him, and that's probably the reason why he's running this race later in the week than a race yesterday, the day before. But I like Far Class in that race myself. Anyway, that's not the question you asked me. And this is what I love, and this is probably like almost not material. It's one that's shortened dramatically overnight, and for all the obvious reasons, everyone's asleep at the wheel. But tell me something, girl, who finished third to Heaven Help Us at Leopardstown in a race, and if you look back at that race, she got no sort of, she got knocked all over the shop, she got turned around and missed the start and everything like that, but came and finished third, has won on good ground. But that form, because that horse won so easily yesterday in the Coral Cup, that form has taken a huge boost. It was 14-1 yesterday and is now into 6-1. Tell me something, girl, and it's one you really got to sit up and take notice of, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny Alexander and Rachel Blackmore again combining in that one. Right, thanks a million, Paddy. Johnny, do you have any other selections there around the card on Thursday? Anything else standing out for you? Or are you going to have a few bets on the likes of the Pertemps or the Mares Novices?
Yeah, the Mares Novices is a really deep race, to be fair. You know, I'm not a fan of these Mares races. I think, you know, it'd be better crack if they took on the males and they get them beaten like Honeysuckle and Put the Kettle On have done. That's why they get the Mares allowance. I don't think we need these races. But having said that, in fairness, this is a good race. And I'm actually coming around to Mighty Blue. She's been backed a bit as well. She hasn't actually won over hurdles yet, but I think the strong pace is going to suit her. She's a real free authorised type of mare, and it's very interesting here. JD was making a case for Hookup. You know, she's a 6-1 shot despite the fact that she's strong form. That's because Rosie's Hollow was so impressive last time in beating Wild Kahala, but you'll notice there's a big swing in the betting today because there's actually a £7 swing in the weight. It's kind of a strange thing. The one gave weight to the other the last day, and Roy Kahala's actually in receipt of weight today from Rosie's Hollow. All very good mares. You know, you're looking at the first 5-6 in the betting are all Irish trained, and that's a race obviously that Willie Mullins has dominated, but he definitely faced a challenge today in the shape of particularly Roy Kahala, and obviously Rosie Solo would be a big winner for John Sweeney. Just to mention Paul Byrne as well, who both of us know, Tom. You know, he's been involved in racing since his dad Davey was a bookmaker who passed away since, and he's become very adept at acquiring horses. You know, he was that Oscar mare of Willie Mullins, who won in Saudi Arabia. Paul acquired that for cheap money out to win the bumper. He acquired a horse to win a Paddy Power for the Mullins yard as well. He also bought the shunter for small money, and look at the story about this horse, what he's done. And on the cusp of winning a big bonus today for Emmett Mullins, and himself and Paul have become definitely ones that the bookmakers fear. Yeah, an incredible team. Anyway, thanks a million, guys. You've been watching the Cheltenham show on OTB Sports with Paddy Power. Don't feel like a punter, feel like a favourite this Cheltenham. And if you've missed any of the show, you can catch up with the full podcast back on the OTB Sports app, and keep an eye out on otbsports.com throughout the week. Of course, we'll be giving our daily tips on the website as well. That's all for today's show. We'll be back at 10:30 tomorrow, of course. Looking forward to the big one, the biggest race of the week, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Until then, go easy.
The Cheltenham Show on OTB Sports. Don't feel like a punter, feel like a favourite this Cheltenham with Paddy